Admiral Lisa Martinez stood at the viewing deck of New Geneva Station, watching the stars through the thick glass. She had been doing this job for 30 years now. 30 years of stopping wars before they started. 30 years of making peace. Between alien races who wanted to kill each other, this station was huge, bigger than most cities on Earth. It floated in empty space, far from any planet or star. This was neutral ground, a place where enemies could meet and talk instead of fight. The humans had built it, and the humans ran it. That was the deal the galaxy had made long ago. Lisa wore the blue uniform of the Terran Peacekeeping Corps. The uniform was simple, with no weapons visible. That was important. The aliens needed to see that humans came in peace. They needed to trust that humans would be fair. "Admiral," a voice called behind her. She turned to see Captain Ryan Clark walking toward her. Ryan was her best officer, a man who could solve problems with words instead of guns. He looked worried. "What is it, Ryan?" she asked. "The Kithara delegation just arrived. They brought more ships than we agreed on." Lisa frowned. The Kithara were bug-like aliens, with hard shells and many legs. They were smart, but they were also proud. Too proud sometimes. "How many more?" 50 extra ships, all of them armed. Lisa felt a cold feeling in her stomach. In 30 years, she had learned to trust that feeling. It meant trouble was coming. What about the Zephyrians? They brought their normal escort. Just 5 ships. The Zephyrians were different from the Kithara. They looked like living crystals, beautiful but fragile. They were peaceful by nature, which was why this fight had surprised everyone. The Zephyrians claimed the Kithara were stealing from their mining operations in the Outer Rim. The Kithara said the Zephyrians were lying. Lisa had seen fights like this before. Usually, both sides were a little right and a little wrong. Usually, they could find a way to share or make a deal. But something felt different this time. "Tell Dr. Brooks." "I want to see her," Lisa said. Dr. Helen Brooks was the best alien expert Lisa had ever worked with. She could read alien body language like a book. She understood how different species thought and felt. While Ryan went to get Helen, Lisa walked to her office. The walls were covered with pictures from successful peace talks. Dozens of different alien species, all shaking hands or doing whatever their version of shaking hands was. Each picture represented a war that never happened. Helen arrived quickly. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes. But those eyes looked worried now. "I've been studying the Kithara records," Helen said before Lisa could speak. "Something is wrong. They're not acting like themselves." "What do you mean?" "The Kithara are proud, but they're also practical. They don't usually bring extra ships to peace talks. It makes them look weak, like they're afraid. But these Kithara seem different. They're too confident." Lisa sat down at her desk. "Any idea why?" "I think they have something new. Some kind of advantage they didn't have before." Before Lisa could answer, the communication system beeped. Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison's voice filled the room. Jake was their intelligence officer, the man who watched for threats the Peacekeepers couldn't see. "Admiral, we have a problem. I'm detecting weapon signatures from the Kithara ships. These aren't normal weapons." Lisa felt that cold feeling again, stronger now. "What kind of weapons?" "I'm not sure. The energy readings are unlike anything in our database. I think they're designed for a specific target." Lisa and Helen looked at each other. They both knew what that meant. "Put the station on alert," Lisa ordered, quietly. "I don't want to start a panic." The peace talks were supposed to start in 2 hours. Representatives from 12 different species would gather in the main conference room. It was supposed to be safe. It was always safe. Lisa walked to the communication center. She needed to talk to Earth, to let them know something was wrong. But when she tried to open the channel, Nothing happened. The communication array is down, the technician reported. All channels to Earth are blocked. Lisa's heart started beating faster. Blocked how? External interference. Someone is jamming our signals. Lisa ran back to the command center. Ryan was there, along with Jake and several other officers. They all looked scared. "Admiral," Ryan said, "the Cathara are moving. All 50 ships are surrounding the station." Lisa looked at the main screen. The Cathara ships were black and ugly, like giant bugs floating in space. They were moving into position around New Geneva Station. It looked like a trap. "Get me the Cathara, Commander," Lisa ordered. The screen changed to show a Cathara face. The alien's eyes were like black jewels, and its mouth was full of sharp teeth. When it spoke, its voice was like metal scraping metal. "Admiral Martinez," the Cathara said. "How pleasant to see you again." "Commander Zektar," Lisa replied. "Your ships are not in the agreed positions. Please explain." The Cathara made a sound. That might have been laughter. "Oh, Admiral. Still trying to give orders. Still thinking you humans are in charge." Lisa felt ice in her veins. "What do you want?" "What we have always wanted. For you humans to stop interfering in our business. For you to go back to your little planet and leave the galaxy to those who belong here." "The galaxy asked us to help keep the peace," Lisa said. "We're here because you wanted us here." "That was a mistake," Zektar said. "A mistake we are going to fix today." The screen went black. Alarms started ringing throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the corridors. "All ships, open fire." Jake shouted. Lisa watched in horror as the Cathara ships began shooting. But these weren't normal weapons. The energy beams were green and seemed to twist through space. When they hit the station's shields, the shields just disappeared. "Shields are down," someone yelled. "How is that possible?" Ryan asked. Lisa didn't answer. She was too busy watching the station's defenses fall apart. The Cathara weapons cut through everything. Like it wasn't there. The station's hull began to crack. "Evacuation order!" Lisa shouted. "All personnel to the escape pods," but it was too late. The green energy beams hit the station's main hull. Lisa felt the floor shake beneath her feet. The lights went out then. Came back on. Emergency power. "Admiral," Helen said, grabbing Lisa's arm. "The conference room. The delegates are still there." Lisa ran toward the conference room, Ryan and Jake behind her. The corridors were full of smoke and frightened people. Human peacekeepers were helping alien diplomats get to safety. Even now, even under attack, they were trying to protect everyone. The conference room was a disaster. The beautiful round table where so many peace agreements had been signed was broken in half. Alien delegates were scattered across the floor. Some were dead. Others were dying. Lisa knelt beside a Zephyrian diplomat. The crystal being's light was fading. "Why?" Lisa whispered. "Why did they do this?" The Zephyrian's voice was like wind chimes. "They have been planning this for years. They have weapons that kill only humans. They want to remove you from the galaxy." Lisa felt something break inside her chest. All those years of peace. All those wars prevented. All those lives saved. And this was how it ended. "Admiral," Ryan said, "we need to go. The station is breaking." Apart, Lisa stood up slowly. She looked around the room at the dead and dying. These beings had trusted humans to keep them safe. They had come here believing in peace. She walked to the communication panel. It was damaged, but still working. She entered her personal code, the one that connected directly to Earth. "This is Admiral Lisa Martinez," she said into the microphone. "New Geneva Station is under attack. The Cathara have betrayed the peace accords. They have weapons designed to kill humans." She paused, looking at the destruction around her. 50 1,000 peacekeepers and civilians are dead or dying. The age of human peacekeeping is over. She took a deep breath and spoke the words she had hoped never to say. I am authorizing Protocol Omega. The gloves are off. Show them what we really are. The message sent, Lisa followed Ryan and Jake to the escape pods. As they flew away from the dying station, Lisa watched 30 years of peace work burn in space. She didn't know it yet. But the galaxy was about to learn that human peacekeepers had never been humanity's warriors. They had been humanity's diplomats. And now the diplomats were dead. The real war was about to begin. General Marcus Steele stood in the center of the war room, 3 miles beneath the surface of Earth. The room was huge, filled with screens and maps and people in military uniforms. This place had been waiting for 30 years, waiting for the day when the peacekeepers would fail. Marcus was not a peacekeeper. He was a soldier. While Admiral Martinez had been making peace in space, Marcus had been preparing for war on Earth. He had hoped this day would never come, but he had always known it would. Sir, a young officer said, running up to him, we just received Admiral Martinez's message. Protocol Omega is authorized. Marcus nodded slowly. He had helped write Protocol Omega 20 years ago. It was a plan that he hoped would never be used. A plan that would change everything. Wake up the war fleet, Marcus ordered. Send activation codes to all hidden bases. And get me Dr. Chun. Dr. Amy Chun was the smartest person Marcus had ever met. She had designed weapons that could destroy planets and ships that could appear and disappear like ghosts. For 30 years, she had been building humanity's real military in secret. Amy arrived in the war room within minutes. She was a small, Asian woman with tired eyes. Those eyes had seen too many terrible things being created in her laboratories. General, she said, are we really doing this? The peacekeepers are dead, Amy. 50,000 of them. The Kithara used bioweapons, designed to kill humans specifically. They've been planning this for years. Amy sat down heavily in a chair. Then they have no idea what they just started. No, Marcus agreed. They don't. Marcus walked to the main screen. It showed a map of the galaxy with thousands of small dots scattered across it. Each dot was a human ship or base that the aliens didn't know about. Computer, Marcus said, show me the real human fleet. The dots began to glow. There were so many of them that the screen looked like it was covered in stars. 12,000 ships, 40 hidden bases. Weapons that could crack planets and defenses that could stop anything. My God, Amy whispered, we built all of this? We built it, Marcus said. While the peacekeepers were keeping the peace, we were preparing for war, just in case. On the other side of the galaxy, Captain Ryan Clark was sitting in an escape pod with the other survivors from New Geneva Station. They were heading toward the nearest human base, a small outpost called Haven Station. Ryan couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. The Kithara had killed everyone. Men, women, children. Peacekeepers who had never hurt anyone in their lives. And they had done it with weapons designed specifically to kill humans. Captain, Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison said, I'm picking up something on the scanner. Ships approaching. Ryan looked at the screen. 3 ships were coming toward them. They were black and sleek, unlike any human ships he had ever seen. They moved through space like hunting animals. Unknown vessels, Ryan said into the radio. This is Captain Ryan Clark of the Terran Peacekeeping Corps. We are survivors from New Geneva Station. Please identify yourselves. A voice came back, speaking perfect English. Captain Clark, this is Commander Lisa Wong of the Human Defense Force. We are here to escort you to safety. Ryan frowned. Human Defense Force? I've never heard of any Human Defense Force. Most people haven't, the voice replied. We've been waiting in the shadows for 30 years, but not anymore. The 3 black ships moved around the escape pods like protective wolves. Ryan could see that they were heavily armed and built for war, not peace. "Commander Wong," Ryan said, "what happened to the Kithara fleet that attacked the station?" There was a pause. Then the commander spoke again. "The Kithara fleet no longer exists, Captain. We removed it from space." "Removed it? What do you mean?" "We mean it's gone. Every ship, every crew member. They learned what happens when you kill human peacekeepers." Ryan felt a chill run down his spine. These ships had destroyed an entire Kithara fleet. Ships that had seemed unbeatable just hours ago. Back on Earth, General Marcus Steele was meeting with President Sarah Collins. The president was a strong woman who had been leading Earth for 10 years. She had always supported the peacekeepers, but she had also known about the secret military. "Marcus," the president said, "tell me honestly, are we doing the right thing?" Marcus looked at the reports on his desk. Pictures of dead peacekeepers. Children who had been killed by alien weapons. Families destroyed by creatures who had pretended to be friends. "They killed our people, Sarah. They used weapons designed to target human DNA. They've been planning this for years, maybe decades. The peacekeepers trusted them, and they murdered our people for it. But if we use our real military, we'll be no better than conquerors." "Maybe," Marcus said, "but we'll be alive conquerors, and our people will be safe." The president looked out the window at the blue sky of Earth. Somewhere up there, the galaxy was about to learn that humans had been holding back for 30 years. "Do it," she said quietly. "But Marcus, try to remember who we used to be." Marcus nodded. He understood, but he also understood that the old ways were dead. The peacekeepers had tried to be good, and the galaxy had murdered them for it. Not in space. The real human fleet was waking up. Ships that had been hidden for decades powered up their engines. Weapons that had never been fired charged their energy banks. Soldiers who had trained in secret prepared for their first real battle. Colonel Sam Rodriguez stood on the bridge of his ship, the HSS Vengeance. It was one of the new warships, built with technology that made it invisible to alien sensors. His crew was made up of soldiers, not peacekeepers. They had been trained to fight, not to make peace. "Sir," his communications officer said, "we have our targets." The Kithara homeworld has been isolated. No ships in or out, Sam nodded. "Good. What about their allies?" "The Zelani and Brutari fleets are moving to support the Kithara. They think they can intimidate us with numbers." Sam smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. They're about to learn the difference between human peacekeepers and human soldiers. Dr. Amy Chun was in her laboratory, watching the first reports come in. The Kithara had been so confident in their surprise attack. They had expected humans to retreat, to beg for mercy, to return to Earth in defeat. Instead, they had awakened something that had been sleeping for 30 years. "Dr. Chun," her assistant said, "the first engagement reports are coming in. The Kithara Defense Fleet at Sector 7 has been eliminated. Total human casualties, 0. Amy nodded. She had expected this. The weapons she had designed were decades ahead of anything the aliens had. The ships she had built were faster and stronger than anything in the galaxy. "What about the bioweapons they used on the peacekeepers?" Amy asked. "We've analyzed them. They're designed to target human DNA, but only normal human DNA. They won't work on our enhanced soldiers." Amy had been working on human enhancement for 20 years. The soldiers of the Human Defense Force were stronger, faster, and smarter than normal humans. They were also immune to most biological weapons. "Good," Amy said. "Send the countermeasures to all human colonies. I want our people protected." Captain Ryan Clark was finally arriving at Haven Station. But when he got there, He couldn't believe what he saw. The small outpost he remembered had been transformed into a massive military base. Hundreds of warships surrounded the station. Soldiers in black armor walked the corridors. "Welcome to Haven Station," Commander Wong said as she greeted them. "Or as we call it now, Forward Operating Base Alpha." Ryan looked around in shock. "How long has this been here?" 25 years, Wong replied. "We've been building it slowly, carefully. The Peacekeepers never knew because they never looked. You all trusted that diplomacy would work forever. And now? Now we know better. The galaxy has shown us what it really thinks of human kindness. So we're going to show the galaxy what human strength looks like." Ryan felt lost. Everything he had believed in was gone. The Peacekeepers were dead. The galaxy had turned against humanity. And apparently, his own species had been preparing for war the whole time. "Commander," he said, "what happens now?" Wong looked at him with eyes that had seen too much. "Now we win, Captain. We win so completely that no one will ever dare to attack humans again. The age of human peacekeeping is over." She paused, looking out at the fleet of warships. "The age of human dominance has begun." Back on Earth, General Marcus Steele was watching the reports come in. The Cathara homeworld was cut off from the rest of the galaxy. Their allies were fleeing in panic. The great coalition that had planned to eliminate humanity was falling apart. "Sir," his aide said, "we have a message from the Galactic Council. They're calling for an emergency session. They want to negotiate." Marcus laughed. It was a bitter sound. "Negotiate?" "They had 30 years to negotiate with our peacekeepers. They chose murder instead. What should I tell them?" Marcus looked at the picture on his desk. It showed Admiral Martinez shaking hands with an alien diplomat. Both of them were smiling. Both of them had believed in peace. "Tell them that the time for negotiation is over," Marcus said. "Tell them that they should have thought about consequences before they killed our people. And if they threaten to unite against us," Marcus smiled. It was the smile of a predator that had finally decided to hunt. Let them try. They're about to learn that human peacekeepers were never our warriors. They were our diplomats, and they just killed all our diplomats. The aide left to send the message. Marcus. Admiral Kate Foster stood on the bridge of the HSS Retribution, watching the stars bend around her ship. The Retribution was a dreadnought, one of 12 that humanity had built in secret. It was 3 miles long and carried enough firepower to destroy a planet. Kate had been waiting for this moment for 15 years. She had watched the Peacekeepers try to make friends with aliens who only saw humans as weak. She had known that kindness would be seen as weakness. And she had been. "Right, Admiral," her communications officer said. "We're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Coalition. They're demanding that we stop our attacks and return to the negotiating table." Kate smiled. The Galactic Coalition was 12 alien species that had decided to work together against humanity. They had fleets numbering in the thousands. They had weapons that could crack moons. They thought they could intimidate the humans into surrendering. They were wrong. "Put them through," Kate ordered. The main screen showed 12 alien faces. There was a Zephyrian, its crystal body shimmering with nervous energy. A Brutari, its thick gray skin covered in scars. A Zelani, its tentacles writhing with anger. And 9 others, all looking scared despite their brave words. "Humans," the Zephyrian spoke first. "You must stop this madness. The attack on New Geneva Station was the work of extremists. The Coalition condemns their actions." Kate laughed. "You condemn their actions?" Where was this condemnation when they were planning the attack? Where was it when they were building bioweapons designed to kill humans? "We didn't know," the Brutari said. "The Cathara acted alone." "Liar," Kate said simply. "We have their communications. We know that 6 of your species helped plan the attack." We know that you all knew it was coming." The aliens looked uncomfortable. They had not expected humans to have such detailed intelligence. "Even if that's true," the Zelani said, "you have made your point. The Cathara homeworld is isolated. Their fleet is destroyed. Surely that is enough revenge." Kate shook her head. "Revenge? This isn't revenge. This is war. You declared war on humanity when you murdered our peacekeepers. Now you get to see what human war looks like." She cut the transmission and turned to her tactical officer. "Status report. The Cathara homeworld is completely cut off. No ships in or out. The bioweapon facilities on 3 other worlds have been destroyed. The Zelani trade routes are under our control. And the Coalition fleet? Gathering at Kepler Station. 8,000 ships from 12 species. They're planning a coordinated attack on our positions." Kate nodded. This was expected. The aliens still thought in terms of old-fashioned space battles. They still believed that numbers mattered more than technology. "Send word to the other dreadnoughts. We're going to give them a demonstration." On the surface of a planet called Nexus Prime, Major Tim Jackson was leading his Ghost Protocol team through the shadows. Nexus Prime was the capital world of the Batari Empire. It was supposed to be the most secure planet in the galaxy. Tim and his team had been on the planet for 3 days, moving through the alien city like ghosts. They wore armor that bent light around them, making them invisible. They carried weapons that could cut through any material, and they had enhancements that made them faster and stronger than any alien. "Target is in sight," Tim whispered into his radio. "The Brutari War Council is meeting in the tower." "Copy that," came the reply. "From orbit. Execute at your discretion." Tim smiled behind his mask. The Brutari War Council was where the Coalition's military leaders made their plans. 12 of the most powerful aliens in the galaxy, all in one room. They felt safe behind their shields. And guards, they were wrong. Tim's team moved like shadows through the building. The Brutari guards never saw them coming. Advanced alien sensors couldn't detect them. Locked doors opened at their touch. They were like ghosts moving through the physical world without being part of it. The War Council was meeting in a room at the top of the tower. Through the windows, Tim could see the lights of the alien city stretching to the horizon. Millions of Brutari lived here, never knowing that human soldiers were walking among them. "Remember," Tim said to his team, "we want them to know we were here. This is about sending a message." The team entered the room through the ceiling. The 12 alien leaders were sitting around a holographic display, planning their attack on human forces. They were so focused on their plans that they never noticed the humans dropping silently behind them. "Gentlemen," Tim said, becoming visible, "I hope we're not interrupting anything important." The aliens spun around in shock. Their guards reached for weapons, but Tim's team was faster. In 3 seconds, every guard in the room was unconscious. The alien leaders found themselves staring at human soldiers who had appeared from nowhere. "Impossible," one of the Brutari said. "How did you get past our defenses?" "What defenses?" Tim asked. "We've been walking through your city for 3 days. Your security is a joke." He walked to the holographic display, studying their battle plans. "Interesting. You're planning to attack our positions with 8,000 ships. That's cute." "You cannot win," another alien said. "We have the numbers. We have the resources. You are just one species." Tim looked at the alien for a long minute. Then he smiled. "You still don't understand, do you? You think the Peacekeepers were our military. You think those diplomatic ships were our war fleet." He gestured to his team. "We are humanity's military. We are the ones who have been waiting in the shadows for 30 years. And we are nothing like the Peacekeepers." Tim placed a small device on the table. It projected a hologram of human forces throughout the galaxy. Thousands of ships, hundreds of bases, weapons that the aliens had never seen before. This is what human military power looks like, Tim said. The Peacekeepers were never our soldiers. They were our diplomats, and you killed them. The aliens stared at the hologram in horror. The human forces were everywhere, surrounding their worlds, controlling their trade routes, watching their every move. "What do you want?" one of them whispered. "We want you to surrender," Tim said. "All of you. Complete and unconditional surrender. Your fleets, your worlds, your governments, everything." "Never," the Brutari leader said. "We will fight to the last ship." Tim nodded. "I was hoping you'd say that." He activated another device. The hologram changed to show the Coalition fleet at Kepler Station. 8,000 ships, the largest fleet ever assembled in the galaxy. "Watch carefully," Tim said. "This is what happens to those who threatened humanity." In space near Kepler Station, the Coalition fleet was preparing for battle. 8,000 ships from 12 species, all armed with the best weapons they could build. The alien commanders felt confident. Humans might have better technology, but they couldn't possibly have enough ships to match these numbers. Commander Lisa Wong was on the bridge of her ship, the HSS Phantom. It was one of the new stealth ships, invisible to alien sensors. Around her, 11 other human ships waited in the darkness. "All ships report ready," Wong's tactical officer said. "Coalition fleet is in position." "Good," Wong said. "Let's show them what 12 human ships can do to 8,000 alien ones." The human ships suddenly appeared around the Coalition fleet. They had been there all along, invisible and waiting. The alien ships tried to react, but the humans were already firing. The human weapons were unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. They fired beams of energy that ignored shields and armor. They launched missiles that could think for themselves and choose their own targets. They had guns that could hit multiple ships at once. The battle lasted 4 minutes. When it was over, the Coalition fleet was gone. 8,000 ships reduced to floating debris. The humans had not lost a single vessel. On Nexus Prime, the alien leaders watched the destruction in horror. Their greatest fleet destroyed by 12 human ships. "How?" one of them whispered. "We've been preparing for this war for 30 years, Tim said. "While you were enjoying the peace our diplomats gave you, we were building weapons you couldn't imagine. We were training soldiers you couldn't fight. We were getting ready for the day when your true nature would show itself." He stood up, his team forming a circle around the terrified aliens. "The day has come. The galaxy has shown us what it really thinks of human kindness. Now you're going to learn what human strength looks like." Tim activated his communicator. "This is Ghost Leader. Mission complete. The Coalition leadership has been neutralized." Admiral Kate Foster's voice came back. "Excellent work, Major. Phase 2 is now in effect." "What's Phase 2? One of the aliens asked. Tim smiled. "Phase 2 is where we stop being nice." All over the galaxy, human forces were moving. Ships that had been hidden for decades appeared at strategic points. Soldiers who had been waiting in the shadows stepped into the light. Weapons that had been built in secret powered up for the first time. The Coalition species had thought they were fighting the same. Humans who had been peacekeepers for 30 years. They had expected diplomatic protests and careful responses. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy that had been preparing for war since the first peace treaty was signed. An enemy that had been holding back its true strength for 3 decades. An enemy that was no longer interested in peace. Captain Ryan Clark was in the briefing room of Haven Station, now called Forward Operating Base Alpha. The room was full of former peacekeepers who were being briefed. President Sarah Collins stood in the Oval Office, looking at reports that made her stomach turn. The war had been going on for 6 months now, and the galaxy was burning. Human forces had conquered 47 star systems. Millions of aliens had been killed or captured. Entire civilizations were begging for mercy, and the worst part was that humanity was winning too easily. "Sarah," General Marcus Steele said, entering the office. "We need to talk about the Kithara situation." Sarah turned from the window. Marcus looked older now, worn down by months of war. They both did. Leading a galactic conquest was harder than anyone had imagined. "What about them?" Sarah asked. "They're dying," Marcus said simply. "The barrier we put around their homeworld is working too well. Their sun is losing power. In 6 months, everyone on the planet will be dead." Sarah sat down. Heavily, the Kithara homeworld held 12 billion people. Most of them had never even heard of the attack on New Geneva Station. They were just ordinary people living ordinary lives. "Can we remove the barrier?" Sarah asked. "Yes, but the moment we do, they'll try to attack us again. The intelligence reports say they're building new bioweapons. They haven't learned their lesson." Sarah rubbed her temples. "What do our people want to do?" "The military wants to let them die. They say it will send a message to the other species. This is what happens when you attack humans. And what do you think?" Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "I think we're becoming something we never wanted to be. But I also think we don't have a choice anymore. If we show mercy, they'll see it as weakness. If we let the Kithara live, every other species will think they can attack us too." Sarah stood up and walked to a painting on the wall. It showed the signing of the Terran Peace Accords, the document that had created the peacekeeping force. Admiral Martinez was in the picture, shaking hands with an alien diplomat. "Lisa would hate what we've become," Sarah said quietly. "Lisa is dead," Marcus replied. "Killed by the same aliens she spent her life protecting. We can honor her memory by making sure no human ever dies like that again." On the other side of the galaxy, Commander Alex Turner was walking through the ruins of a Zilani city. The buildings were broken and empty. The streets were full of debris. A few Zilani civilians watched him from the shadows, their tentacles. Trembling with fear, Alex had been a peacekeeper once. He had believed in protecting innocent people, no matter what species they were. But the war had changed him. It had changed everyone. "Commander," his aide said, running up to him, "we have orders from Earth. All Zilani civilians are to be relocated to the education centers." Alex stopped walking. Education centers was what they called the prison camps now. Places where aliens learned about humanity's new rules for the FUI. Galaxy. Places where they learned to obey. How many? Alex asked. 40 million from this planet alone. Alex looked around at the broken city. 40 million people, most of them just trying to survive. They would be taken from their homes and sent to camps where humans would teach them how to live in the new galaxy. "Sir," the aide asked, "should I give the order?" Alex thought about Admiral Martinez. She had always said that protecting innocent people was what made humans different from the other species. She had believed that kindness was humanity's greatest strength, but Admiral Martinez was dead, killed by aliens who had seen her kindness as weakness. "Give the order," Alex said. Back on Earth, Dr. Kevin Moore was studying reports from across the galaxy. Kevin was a xenopsychologist, someone who studied how alien minds worked. What he was learning scared him. "General Steele," Kevin said, entering the war room, "I have the latest psychological reports from the occupied territories." Marcus looked up from the tactical displays. "What do they say?" "The alien populations are developing severe trauma responses to human contact. Children are having nightmares about human soldiers. Adults are becoming catatonic when they see human ships. Entire populations are developing what we can only call human phobia." Marcus frowned. Is that a problem? Sir, we're breaking these species psychologically. They're not just afraid of us, they're terrified. Some populations are showing signs of collective mental breakdown. Good, Marcus said. Fear keeps them from attacking us. But sir, this goes beyond fear. We're damaging these species permanently. Some of them may never recover. Marcus turned to face Kevin fully. Dr. Moore, let me ask you something. How many human children were killed at New Geneva Station? Kevin looked uncomfortable. About 8,000, sir. 8,000 human children murdered by aliens who thought we were too weak to fight back. Those children will never recover either, Dr. Moore. They're dead. Kevin left the war room feeling sick. He understood Marcus's point, but he also understood what humanity was becoming. They were turning into the galaxy's nightmare out in space. The last free government in the galaxy was preparing a desperate plan. The Stellar Republic controlled 50 star systems in the far rim of the galaxy. They had managed to avoid human conquest so far, but they knew their time was running out. Admiral John Blake stood on the bridge of the Republican flagship. He was looking at a weapon that no one had used in 1,000 years. An ancient device that could destroy entire star systems. Admiral, his aide said, are we really going to do this? The humans have given us no choice, Blake replied. They demand complete surrender. They want to put our people in their education centers. They want to turn us into slaves. But if we use this weapon on human colonies, then maybe they'll finally agree to negotiate. Maybe they'll realize that some things are worth more than conquest. Blake didn't really believe this. The humans had shown no mercy to anyone. They had conquered species that surrendered just as brutally as those that fought. But he had to try something. Target the human colony at New Horizon, Blake ordered. If we're going to make a statement, it needs to be loud enough for them to hear. The ancient weapon charged up, gathering energy from the nearby star. In a few hours, it would fire. A human colony with 2 million people would be destroyed. And then the galaxy would see what happened when someone threatened humanity's civilians. On Earth, President Sarah Collins was meeting with her advisors. The war was going well, maybe too well. Human forces controlled most of the galaxy now. The alien species were either conquered or hiding. Madam President, her intelligence chief said, we're detecting unusual energy readings from Stellar Republic. Space. It looks like they're charging some kind of super weapon. What kind of super weapon? We're not sure. The energy signature doesn't match anything in our database. But the power levels are enormous. Sarah felt a cold fear in her chest. Could it threaten Earth? No, ma'am, it's too far away. But it could threaten our outer colonies. Sarah turned to Marcus. Options? We could launch a preemptive strike. Destroy their fleet before they can. Use the weapon. And if we miss? If they fire first? Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then we glass every world they control. All 50 systems. Every last alien in Republican space dies. Sarah stared at him. You're talking about genocide, Marcus. The complete destruction of an entire civilization. Yes, ma'am. That's exactly what I'm talking about. We've been showing restraint so far, trying to conquer rather than destroy. But if they want to escalate ... Sir, the intelligence chief interrupted. The weapon is targeting New Horizon colony. 2 million human civilians. Sarah felt the weight of the decision crushing down on her. 2 million human lives versus 50 billion alien ones. Her people versus an entire species that had chosen to threaten humanity. How long until they fire? She asked. 6 hours, ma'am. Sarah closed her eyes. When she opened them again, something had changed in her face. Something hard and cold. Marcus, prepare the fleet. If they fire on our people, I want every Republican world turned to glass within 24 hours. Yes, ma'am? And Marcus? Make sure the rest of the galaxy knows what happened and why. I want them to understand that this is what happens when you threaten human civilians. 6 hours later, the ancient weapon fired. The energy beam crossed space in an instant, striking New Horizon colony. The colony's shields held for 3 seconds, then collapsed. 2 million humans died in a flash of light. The galaxy watched in horror as the human response began. 12 dreadnoughts appeared in Republican space. They didn't try to conquer the worlds. They didn't try to capture the populations. They simply destroyed everything. One by one, the 50 worlds of the Stellar Republic died. 50 billion aliens. Most of them civilians who had never even known about the attack on New Horizon. The humans showed no mercy, no restraint. They killed everything that moved and turned green worlds into dead rocks. When it was over, President Sarah Collins addressed the galaxy. The Stellar Republic chose to murder 2 million human civilians, she said. This was their reward. Let every species in the galaxy understand this message clearly. If you threaten human lives, we will end your civilization. Not conquer it, not occupy it, end it. Commander Alex Turner watched the broadcast from his ship above a conquered alien world. The humans on his crew cheered when they heard about the Republican destruction. They thought it was Justice.Alex. Wasn't sure what it was anymore. Justice? Revenge? Genocide? The lines had become blurred. Sir, his aide said, we have new orders. We're to begin Phase 3 operations. What's Phase 3? Permanent a cup. Admiral Ryan Clark stood in the center of the new Galactic Command Center on Earth. 2 years had passed since the war ended. 2 years since humanity had conquered the galaxy completely. The building was huge and made of black stone, designed to make visitors feel small and powerless. Ryan wore a new uniform now. Not the blue of the Peacekeepers, but the black of the Human Galactic Authority. He was Supreme Commander of Human Forces now, in charge of keeping 12 species under control. Sir, his aide said, approaching with a datapad. The monthly compliance reports are ready. Ryan took the pad and read through the numbers. Alien productivity was up 15%. Resistance incidents were down to almost 0. The education centers were running smoothly. The galaxy was working. Exactly as humanity wanted it to. But Ryan remembered when the galaxy had been free. Any problems? Ryan asked. Only minor ones, sir. Some Zephyrian colonies are requesting permission to hold cultural festivals. A few Brutari worlds want to build new cities. The usual requests. Denied, Ryan said without thinking. Cultural festivals can become gathering points for resistance. New construction projects require too many resources. The aide nodded and left. Ryan turned back to the huge windows that looked out over Earth's capital. The city was bigger now, expanded to house the bureaucrats who ran the galactic government. Millions of humans worked here, managing the lives of trillions of aliens. Ryan thought about Admiral Martinez sometimes. She had believed in peace, in cooperation, in treating other species as equals. She would have hated what humanity had become. Admiral Martinez was dead, killed by the very aliens she had tried to protect. Admiral Clark, a voice said behind him. Ryan turned to see Director Emma Hayes walking toward him. Emma was in charge of the Galactic Compliance Bureau, the organization that made sure aliens followed human rules. Director Hayes, Ryan said, what brings you here? We have a situation on Zelani Prime. The local population is asking for increased food rations. They claim their current allocation isn't enough to feed their children properly. Ryan frowned. The food allocation system was designed to keep alien populations healthy but dependent. Too much food, and they might get ideas about independence. Too little, and they might starve. What do our nutritionists say? The current rations are sufficient for survival and basic health. The aliens are not in any immediate danger. Then the answer is no. If we give them more food now, they'll ask for more next month. It never ends. Emma nodded. That's what I told them. But sir, there's something else. We're receiving reports of similar requests from 17 other worlds. The aliens seem to be coordinating their demands. This was more serious. Individual requests could be ignored, but coordinated action suggested organized resistance. Send in the enhancement teams, Ryan ordered. I want the leadership of these worlds identified and dealt with. And increase surveillance on all alien. Communications. Yes, sir. Ryan walked to his office, past walls covered with pictures of human victories. The Battle of Kepler Station, where 12 human ships destroyed 8,000 alien ones. The conquest of the core worlds, where humanity's army swept through the galaxy's heart in 6 weeks. The final surrender, where the last free alien government gave up without a fight. Each picture showed humanity's overwhelming power. Each one reminded everyone who is in charge now. Captain John Miller was walking through the streets of New Geneva, the city that had been built where the old peace station once stood. John represented the new generation of human leaders, people who had grown up during the war, people who had never known the old peaceful ways. John was only 25 years old, but he was already a sector commander. He controlled 15 star systems and their billions of alien inhabitants. To him, this was normal. This was how the galaxy was supposed to work. Captain, his aide said, running up to him. We have a situation at the Cultural Heritage Center. Cultural Heritage Center was where aliens could request permission to practice their traditional customs. Most requests were denied, but the center existed to give aliens the illusion that humanity cared about their cultures. What kind of situation? John asked. A group of Kithara are requesting permission to hold a memorial service for their dead. They want to remember the ones who died when their homeworld was isolated. John laughed. They want to hold a memorial for terrorists? For the aliens who started this whole war? That's what they claim, sir. They say the dead were mostly civilians who had nothing to do with the attack on the old station. John stopped walking. He turned to face his aide with cold eyes. Do you know how many human children died in that attack? 8,000, sir. 8,000 children. Murdered by these same Kithara. And now they want us to help them honor their dead? What should I tell them, sir? Tell them that the dead Kithara got exactly what they deserved. Tell them that if they want to honor someone, they should honor the human peacekeepers who died trying to protect the galaxy. John continued walking toward the center of the city. In the main square stood a statue of Admiral Martinez, the last commander of the Peacekeepers. The inscription read, "She believed in peace. They chose war. We chose victory." John had never met Admiral Martinez, but he knew her story. She had been weak, trusting aliens who only wanted to destroy humanity. She had learned too late that kindness was seen as weakness by the galaxy's other species. John would never make that mistake. At the Cultural Heritage Center, the Kithara delegation was waiting nervously in a small room. There were 5 of them, all old, all survivors of the war. They had been waiting for 3 hours to hear humanity's decision about their memorial service. The door opened and John walked in. The Kithara immediately fell to their knees, as they had been trained to do when humans entered a room. Stand up, John ordered. The aliens stood, but kept their eyes on the floor. I understand you want to hold a memorial service, John said. Yes, honored human, one of the Kithara replied. We wish only to remember our dead with dignity. John walked around the group, studying them. These aliens had once been proud warriors, confident in their superiority over humans. Now they were broken, defeated, afraid to even look at a human directly. Your dead were terrorists, John said. They murdered human children. They started a war that destroyed your entire civilization. And you want to honor them? Honored human, most of our dead were civilians. They had no part in the attack on your station. They were innocent. John stopped in front of the alien who had spoken. Innocent? Your entire species knew about the bioweapons. Your entire species supported the attack. There were no innocents among your people. But honored human. Silence, John said. The alien immediately stopped talking. John pulled out a data pad and showed it to the Cathara. It displayed images of dead human children from New Geneva Station. These were innocents, John said. These were children who never hurt anyone. Your people murdered them because they thought humans were weak. They were wrong. John put the data pad away and looked at each alien in turn. You want to hold a memorial? Fine. You will hold a memorial for the human children your people murdered. You will stand in the main square for 12 hours and read their names aloud. You will beg forgiveness for what your species did. And you will thank humanity for allowing your people to survive. The Cathara looked horrified. Honored human, please. We only wanted to remember our own dead. John's eyes grew cold. Your dead don't deserve to be remembered. They deserve to be forgotten. The only reason your species still exists is because humanity chose to show mercy. Don't make us regret that choice. The Cathara left the center in defeat. John watched them go, feeling satisfied. This was how the galaxy worked now. Humans made the decisions. Aliens obeyed. It was simple, efficient, and peaceful. The old way, with its negotiations and compromises and endless talks, had been chaos. The new way was order. Later that day, John stood before a gathering of alien ambassadors from across the galaxy. They were all here for the monthly compliance assembly, where humanity announced new rules and policies. The assembly hall was designed to intimidate. The ceiling was 100 feet high, covered with images of human military victories. The walls showed maps of the galaxy, all marked with human symbols. The aliens sat in small chairs, while John stood on a raised platform, looking down at them. Representatives of the subject species, John began. You are here to receive new instructions from the Human Galactic Authority. The aliens listened in silence. They had learned that speaking without permission was forbidden. Effective immediately, all alien settlements with populations over 1 million will be required to construct monuments to human victory. These monuments will remind your people daily of what happened when your species chose war over peace. Several aliens shifted uncomfortably, but none spoke. Second, all alien educational systems will now include mandatory courses on human history and human superiority. Your children will learn why humanity rules the galaxy, and why that rule is both necessary and permanent. John paused, looking out at the defeated faces before him. Third, any alien caught spreading anti-human sentiment will be sent to enhanced education facilities for personality adjustment. We have been tolerant of minor dissent, but that tolerance has limits. An elderly Zephyrian raised one crystalline appendage. Honor